Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wide Open. I am your host, Ashlyn Harris, and I'm so excited for this week's episode. I just got back from LA, and I've got my kids, and we had a really fun weekend. And it's been cold here in New York, so it's some things never change. But I had a great weekend spending family time and hanging out with my kiddos. And we went to an indoor play place that we got to rip around with motorized like little scooters. And as soon as I put them to bed, I am knee deep in my true crime saga that I love to watch. So this is going to be a fun episode. It's going to be so interesting. Amanda Knox is here to talk to us about her life before and after the events that led to a wrongful conviction. And I think what I'm pulling out and what I'm reflecting on most in this conversation is I love true crime. I consume true crime all the time. My partner and I curl up on long drives and long trips. I think Amanda humanized it for me. I learned a lot about what I'm watching and what people are actually living are two very different spaces that we can hold at the same time. And being able to hear it firsthand from her of what it caused her and what she's had to carry through her life because of this true crime saga and what she had to experience, it just really humanized who she is and what these stories are about. These are real people, and we victimize them, we villainize them. A lot of people are convicted who are wrongly convicted. That media totally gets it wrong for a story. And a lot of times it's sexualized, and you'll hear that firsthand from Amanda. And I'm really now taking a step back to realize like what I'm consuming is bias, is maybe not all the facts. Maybe it's a version of the facts. And I think we need to reflect and sit down and take a pause and realize what we're doing and how we're jeopardizing someone's narrative and someone's story. So before we come to a conclusion or a judgment, I'm excited for you all to hear her story, to hear the before and after, what she lived during it. It was a really eye-opening experience, and I'm really excited for you guys to tune into this episode. So here's Amanda Knox, and this is Wide Open. Amanda Knox became a name, a headline, a narrative that the world consumed. But behind all of this, she's a human, a woman who had her life interrupted in ways most of us will never be able to understand. This conversation isn't about what happened to her. It's about what it did, who she was before it, and who she had to become after it to survive, and what it looks like to rebuild a life when so much of your story was never yours to control. Amanda, thank you for being here. Thank you for the willingness to be wide open on a topic that I imagine is very hard. And let's get into it, everyone. This is Amanda Knox. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm a little sick. I'm the one who always gets sick last in my household, so everyone else has been sick for like weeks now, and I was like, okay, it's coming. It's coming.
It's knocking on the door. Listen, we're both moms. I just feel like as a new mom, I was sick all the time. It took so much, it took probably 3 years for my immune system to be like, okay, let's go. And now and now it still rampages through the entire house. So I feel you on that. It's so funny. Well, I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, no, I took a bunch of guafenicin and all of that. So hopefully
I love it. But before we dive into everything, I always like to ask guests to kind of tell me about who they were when they were younger, before, all of the tabloids and the media and, the stories, clearly the aftermath. I'm curious who Amanda was, because now you're so public, and you're so, you carry yourself in a way to advocate for, wrongfully convicted people, and you humanize it in such a beautiful way. But before you had to be forced into this, who was this Amanda, little girl?
Yeah, so I grew up in Seattle, and I'm the oldest of all of like my siblings and also my cousins. So I was always the sort of the babysitter of all the kids. I was driving everybody to, their baseball or soccer practice. I played a lot of sports as well growing up. My dad played softball, my mom played soccer, and so I was playing both and also doing gymnastics. So I was very athletic as a kid. I also was really into music and musical theater. So I was doing, musicals in middle school and high school. All around just a really positive childhood, basically as good as you could get. Like, I was very safe. I was very supported. My family is very close knit. So my parents divorced when I was young, but because they wanted to be supportive of me and my sister, they got houses that were just like a 2-minute walk from each other. So we were just like back and forth. And then, of course, my grandmother's house was in walking distance. My aunt and my uncle's house was in walking distance. So I really got a sort of very safe and warm and supportive upbringing. And I didn't have any struggles with growing up. I didn't. I did well in school. I had friends. I did well in sports. Basically, life was super easy and super joyful for me growing up. And that led me to be a very, curious person. I was very curious about the world and about other people. But it also made me a little bit naive to the darker sides of the world and of people, because I truly did not have anything bad ever happen to me. So I was a very trusting person, and so when everything bad happened in Italy, I was completely blindsided.
Yeah, I can imagine. And when you think about that version of yourself now, what do you miss the most? Because there is something that the experience you had to go through, it changes someone. It hardens someone. And I imagine no matter what, you carry that with you. So I just am curious, when you talk about that version, that innocent little girl who had everything at her fingertips, and just, we're young, we're naive, the possibilities, the dreaming, we're we want to take on the world and life. What do you miss most about that little girl?
Yeah. When I went back to Italy after all of this happened, part of what I realized I was doing there was grieving that younger version of myself that didn't survive the experience. I really did feel like my life has been 3 lives so far, and my life up until Italy is one life, and then my life in Italy is a completely other life, and then the life afterwards. A significant part of me died in Italy, and it was the part of me, again, that person who nothing bad had ever happened to, but also it was that person who, this is going to sound so annoying, and I feel like people are maybe maybe it was a good thing that something bad happened to you because of how Disney princess you were. But I would wake up just being super excited to live my life, with every feeling that the people that I would interact with would would understand me and treat me well. And like that was just my experience of reality. And so when I came out of this experience, I felt deeply disconnected to other people. I felt deeply fearful of other people. And that was really, really hard. I've been struggling to get back to that sense of feeling like I can connect with other people and I can trust other people
them
again. Yeah. And it's hard because I now know something about humanity that is less than flattering.
Yeah,
and you know, it's not always safe, and people are not always, you know, doing things with your best interests at heart. And sometimes people are just cruel.
That part that I think, you know, we all watched it. You know, this was such a big moment, you know, for our generation. It was just headlines and headlines and headlines, but you were living it. And I think this is where people get super jaded. Like, you are a human. You are an absolute, like, how does it feel to have your identity shaped by a narrative you couldn't control? Like, that's so at 20. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's tough because at 20, you are in a developmental stage of your life. So already you're like, oh, I'm discovering who I am. And then all of a sudden all of that discovery is taken from you and just like warped into something disgusting and awful. Like it was an existential crisis for me. Like I lived the first 2 years of my imprisonment in a kind of state of denial. Like, I was really certain that I was accidentally living somebody else's life by mistake, and like the adults in the room would figure it out and let me go back to living my life and not the life of some murderer that I wasn't.
Yeah.
So but it wasn't until I was convicted that it really it became real for me that like who I was, who I am didn't matter. That the truth didn't matter, that like my entire reality was being rewritten and I had no say in it. And that was utterly debilitating. But it also sort of focused in for me what I did actually have control over. So, you know, when I was 20, I had visions of what my life would be like, right? And it was, you know, not that crazy. I wanted to be a traveler. I wanted to translate poetry. I was a nerd. Like I wanted to translate poetry. Like how like low bar. Like I don't know how I thought that could be a career. But again, like I just wanted to translate poetry. That sounded like an amazing job for me. And again, shows how naive I am. I don't think anyone can make a living translating poetry.
Innocence. It shows your innocence as a young kid. Just like, you didn't have to worry about what was real and what wasn't. You were just living in the moment and going abroad. Like, that is the point, to explore who you are during this process. You're not supposed to have it figured out.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm 40 and I don't have it figured out.
But yeah, and then, you know, and then they sentenced me to 26 years for a crime that I had nothing to do with. And there's this narrative out there about me that is completely made up. Like I wasn't even in Italy for that long. So anybody who was there was just getting to know me. And so there weren't people in Italy who could really speak to my personality and my character. Like they had just met me, really. And so there was a lot of just like making things up. And the thing that really bothers me is, I mean, there's a million things that bother me, but one of the things that I found was so devastating was how the prosecution, and then of course the media, which just amplified the prosecution's narrative, they pitted me against my roommate when we had never had any kind of conflict. Like, we were just two young girls sharing an apartment together with two other young women. People forget that we had two other roommates, and they they portrayed us as complete opposites. So they took like the British stereotype and said, oh, okay, Meredith is sort of uptight and prudish. And then they took the American Girls Gone Wild stereotype and said, Amanda's a dirty whore.
Yeah.
And they said, well, obviously that they would hate each other and Amanda would orchestrate a murder orgy to punish her roommate. Like, and then like that. So just the complete dehumanization of both of us in that moment, acting as if Meredith was like this uptight, judgmental, prudish person when she absolutely was not. She was a very like, you know, she was very sophisticated for her age, but like, you know, she had a little casual boyfriend that she was seeing and she liked to go out dancing and she liked to have fun and she liked to laugh. Like she wasn't, you know, this prude who would never, you know, never go out dancing and hang out with boys. Like it was just the way that they portrayed us was so misogynistic in like the stereotyping. And for some reason, people just lapped that up. Like people, I don't understand why that narrative spoke to so many people and resonated with so many people. Because it was complete fantasy and it was gross too. Like, I don't know if you saw, like in the very early days of the investigation, like after I was arrested, detectives were talking, like admitting to press people that like they knew that I was guilty from day one because I smelled like sex to them. I smelled like sex. And it's like, I may be the only person in the world who has ever been accused of murder based on BO. Like, it's just like really fucking seriously. Like, yeah, it was gross. Like, it was a gross hypersexualization of a 20-year-old kid. And I was just completely unprepared for it. And there was cultural differences that led to this. I did not grow up feeling like I was sexually exotic.
Yes.
In Italy, I was. And I didn't understand that. I wasn't there long enough to appreciate, like, oh, an American girl with, like, they called me blonde, even though I'm clearly not blonde. But like, they said the blonde American girl. And, like, they have this, like, hyped up fantasy around what that means. And that wasn't who I was, but I'm an American girl, ergo we can just assume a lot of things about her. And I just had no idea that that's what I was up against. And this idea that like women hate women fundamentally, like that was something that was really baked into the narrative of this case, that women all secretly hate each other and we are all secretly judging each other and trying to undermine each other. And we're always in sexual competition with each other. Like, it's just this utterly misogynistic idea that did not represent at all what my relationship was like with my roommate. But there was nothing I could do about it. No one believed me.
And that's the other thing I think, you know, what I really, really appreciated, and I know you were a producer on the Hulu show about your experience in your life, and you did this with Monica Lewinsky, who also knows what it's like to sit in your shoes, but in a different circumstance. But I want to say this. People assume that once you're free, everything goes back to normal. What's the truth?
If only.
Yeah. What's the truth of that?
This was really important for both Monica and I in doing the show. Was we typically, when you hear about these like scandalous cases, and especially if they take place in a courtroom, all of the drama is a courtroom drama, and nobody is really interested in the before the terrible crime occurred or the after. It's a lot of just, okay, what is the crime and what is the punishment? That's what the drama is. And I felt that was not something that I wanted to be a part of. It's why I always pushed back against the idea of doing a scripted version of my story, because that wasn't my story. That was just a bad thing that happened to me. And it felt like it didn't really I didn't understand what purpose it could serve, because the horribleness of the human drama had already been very covered in a journalistic way, like through documentaries and all of that. So for me to take part in something, I needed it to be reflective of what I felt like was my story. So if I am the protagonist of this story, I can't be a protagonist that things are just happening to. I have to be doing something. So it was important to me and Monica, and especially our showrunner, I can't say this enough, KJ Steinberg, who was our showrunner. Like, this could have been a very bad experience for me, but she made it a very positive experience for me by embracing the fact that, like, this was not just a story about a horrible thing that happened to Meredith and a horrible thing that happened to me. It was the story of who we were before this bad thing happened and who I became afterwards. And that is the story. How does a tragedy like this take over a life, and then how do you take back that life? And so we were very, very mindful to include moments in the series that just showed us as young people. Like, there's a lot of time spent in the pre-murder of it all, where you just see us hanging out, or me hanging out with Raffaele, or me and Meredith just like hanging out in the bathroom, and she's giving me little temporary tattoos. Like, it's really important to just get a sense of like, oh, here are these two young human beings. Same stuff with like Meredith. Like, it was really important for me to show her as a real young person and not just as this like hyper anti-sexualized corpse. Like, which is how the prosecution treated her. And then it was really important to show the aftermath, that like that space of confusion when you come home from something like this and you presumably are free, and yet this narrative has taken over your life. You've been living in this nightmare world for years. And so going back to the real world is disorienting and confusing. There's this desire to reconnect with humanity, but a fear because of there's all of this bias against you, and you're treated not like a normal person. And how do you grapple with that? How do you grapple with the fact that there's probably nothing that I will ever accomplish in my life that will ever define me more than an accusation of a thing that I didn't do? Like, that's a tremendously overwhelming existential crisis that I faced upon coming home. And it could only be answered for myself when I realized that, like, I needed to understand why this had happened to me. And the only way that I could was by directly confronting the person who did this to me, my prosecutor. So that's why I went back to see him.
And I love that. I love that you wanted to do that. And the bravery it takes to go.
I'm glad you liked it, because my family certainly did not.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I am sure. But also, this is your journey and this is your life and reclaiming it. And you've got to keep moving in your own skin. So what that feeling looks like to you versus everyone else, it's like, I love that you went with your gut and you did it and you humanized this whole experience, because we do. True crime paints everyone out to be these monsters they're not, and it's like this narrative, we're still talking about it, right? And it's so beautiful that you show up and you're fighting wrongfully convicted people, because it happens. We get it wrong all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you've said
that
this,
was a really important part of it for me.
You said this. You said the feeling free and freedom are two separate things. Speak to me about that. What do you mean by that?
Well, so in our lives, I have found that, first of all, we take for granted a lot of the freedoms that we experience in our lives. And you don't really fully understand how like privileged we are to be free unless you have your freedom stolen from you. But that freedom isn't just a physical freedom. Like, it isn't just you're out of prison or not. Like, you can feel trapped in your own life. And I think that's a really common experience for people. Like, I think that's a lot of where the like a midlife crisis comes from, like suddenly realizing that you are on this trajectory in your life and you're like, wait, did I make all these decisions? Like, is this really is this who I am? Is this really what I want? And I think we experience all of that. We all experience that feeling. And I think a lot of people are really discouraged to realize that, well, there's only so much that I have control over. I can't control how other people think about me, or I can't, I can't just get everything that I want. And for me, learning how to feel free again involved this counterintuitive psychological mental gymnastics that I had to do ultimately, which were accepting my reality for what it is. Like, this is my reality. This is my life. This is my story. It's not one that I chose. But can I have a say? Am I just a victim of this circumstance in this life? Or can this be fuel for me? Is this something that can give me momentum? And can I actually shape it? And the only way that you can shape it is by being able to see it clearly. You can't be effective if you don't even know what all the moving pieces are. Yeah. And so seeing it clearly means accepting it for what it is. And so the counterintuitive part of that is realizing that I don't get to not be the girl accused of murder, right? That is what it is. I am the girl who was accused of murder. Now what? Now what do I do with that? And that was really liberating, realizing that it wasn't just up to the people who had put me in this situation. It was up to me to make my life meaningful, to make it so that I had a say in something. And figuring out what that was involved some deep thinking about what my values were. Like, I talk to a lot of people now about when they're feeling confused or lost. And often I'm like, okay, the question isn't what you should do now. The question is, what is important to you? And for me, it all boils down to curiosity, compassion, and courage. So if I don't understand something, I move towards it. If someone is in pain, I move towards them. If there's something I'm afraid of, I move towards that. Those are like guiding principles for me. And that all helped me figure out the what to do, because it was based on the what was important to me.
Yeah. And I love when you just so beautifully said. And I imagine it took so much work to get here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you make it sound like, oh, just landing the plane here. But
yeah,
I can feel it in the way you speak about it. You've done so much work to get here. Because also there's something, you do such a beautiful job. And I want to ask how, because you separate who you are now from what happened to you. And I'm sure there's days where it doesn't always feel good. It doesn't, maybe you are pissed and maybe you are rightfully angry. Like a lot was stolen from you, but clearly you have done the work and you probably are still doing the work every single day to not slip into that, because it'll take more from you and you have such a light. And I know a lot of people, whether things have happened to them with, wrongfully convicted, sexual violence, you name it. And they don't know how to carry it and they don't know how to separate it. And it does become their identity. And it's the sense of damage and fractured. And you walk with that pain every single day. How do you separate it so well?
Well, that's a really great question. And I think that one thing that's really important to acknowledge for people, in case they don't, like, say they have someone in their life like that, like who is carrying with them the damaged parts of themselves and are really like elevating that part of themselves. I think that a lot of times that occurs because we feel like if we are not asserting how we have been hurt, we're almost like giving up, or like we're saying, no one wants to say what happened to me was okay when it was not. It was not okay. Whatever the thing is, if it's sexual assault, if wrongful conviction, what happened was not okay. And it's almost like if you are okay later on, no one believes you that this horrible thing happens to you. And it's true. Like, people to this day have said things to me like, well, you're clearly doing so well. What happened to you must not have been as bad as things that happen to other people. Like, people seem to sort of assume that you can measure how bad something was by how debilitated the person is later. And that's not the case. And I think there is a sort of fear that if you become okay in the aftermath, that somehow negates the bad thing that happened to you. And I push back against that idea, because it's the measure of you is the measure of you. Like, anybody can be functional and happy no matter what the circumstance is. It's a matter of perspective. And the important perspective to know is that you don't have to push away the anger and the hurt. Like, a lot of people, when they talk to me, just a few days ago, I gave a talk and somebody asked me, well, how did you get rid of the anger? And I was like, girl, I didn't get rid of the anger. The anger is still there. Like, the wound is still there. Like, it's not ever gonna go away. I've just learned to appreciate it for what it is. And I've learned how to treat it as, instead of as this baggage that I have to carry around, it's instead fuel. It informs me, it energizes me. And it's important that it does so. The more you try to repress any of the bad feelings that you have, the more control they're going to have over you. So for me, I get angry but the thing that I don't want today is for my anger or my sadness, the deep, deep sadness, that feeling of being betrayed, like, all of that, I don't want to impact what I have in this moment, because in this moment, this is it. All I have is right now. And if I'm stuck in the past, I can't be living what I have right now. Like, life is precious. If there's one thing that I've learned from this experience, it's that life is fucking precious, and you never know when it's going to be taken from you. And so just live it, live it, and try, allow yourself to feel the rage, and then ask yourself, what is this rage for? What could this rage be for? It's for me, it's a reminder of, like, when something needs to be defended or protected. Like, rage is a feeling that turns into protection energy from me. I've learned how to and protect myself or protect others. Like, if I'm feeling rage, I'm alerted that it's like an alarm going off that somebody is being hurt, and I can come in and protect them or protect myself. But that's what it's for. It's not for me to just be triggered easily and therefore yelling at my kids. It's important to know how to direct the energy that you feel. And so that's, I think, how I am able to do that, is I've learned how to understand what my emotions are for, where they're coming from, and I've learned how to direct them in a positive way.
I love that. Do you feel that becoming a mom has helped shift that perspective? Because motherhood and protection and everything you're talking about, everything you went through, do you think becoming a mom has shifted that perspective in you?
Becoming a mom gave me a sense of urgency in addressing any ways that I was still dysfunctional as a result of all of the bad things. I when I got pregnant, I was so excited because I've always wanted to be a mom. And then when they sentenced me to 26 years, I thought that was stolen from me. So I had to grieve the thought that I could ever be a mother. But then I finally got that back. And so I'm finally becoming a mother. And I was suddenly stricken with this sense of urgency to rid myself of bad energy that I had still sort of unresolved in my body, because your body, I mean, you're a mother, your body is the whole world for your kid for a good while. And then like even afterwards, like you have an outside influence on like the fundamental nature of this human being that you are responsible for. And I didn't want to unintentionally pass on any of what felt like poison inside of me. So I was determined to either get the poison out or transform it into medicine. And that was what led me ultimately, like it was a huge thing that led me to go back to Italy and just confront this thing head on. And learning what that required of me, because it wasn't just showing up and wagging my finger at my prosecutor. Like that wasn't the point. The point was to recognize that whatever outsized influence this person has had on my life, I'm the one who ultimately has responsibility for it. And I have much to give as a result of everything that happened to me. It's not just what was taken from me, but what I now have that I didn't have otherwise that I can now give.
And with that, going back to Italy, and I just have been dying to ask this question. What does forgiveness mean to you now, if anything, after you went back?
So a lot of people ask me about forgiveness because I think they assume that that's what my intention was to forgive people. And it wasn't actually. I was not going to Italy to forgive anyone. I was going to Italy to understand them. I was not satisfied with easy answers about, my prosecutor was just an evil guy who was selfish and cowardly and didn't care if an innocent girl was in prison or not. That's what people were telling me was the reason why everything happened to me. And I didn't believe that. I thought that it was more complicated than that. I think that the vast majority of people think they're doing the right thing, even when they're doing the wrong thing. And so what I wanted to know is how and why this person could believe they were doing the right thing by putting an innocent girl in prison. And so going back there required that I, again, am informed by my rage, but also compartmentalize it and put aside my feelings of hurt to honestly be open and non-judgmental about a person who is telling me their honest thoughts and feelings at the moment in the time. And like, this is a person who to this day thinks that even if he would never prosecute the case again in the same way, because he now knows who I am and I'm not the person that he thought he was prosecuting. Like, looking back, he's like, well, I don't know. It just felt logical to me at the time. Like that, it just like, he to this day says, I don't feel like I did anything wrong, because based on the information that I had at the time, this was the rational thing to me. And then you sort of feel the rage boiling up inside because you're like, no, it wasn't rational at all. You made up a lot of crazy shit. Like you just made stuff up. But like, if you really like take a step back and go, okay, in his reality, certain things feel real to him. Like, for example, he just from the beginning assumed that a woman was involved in this crime because my roommate's body was covered with a blanket. And so like in his mind, it is totally rational to think that only a woman would cover another woman's body with a blanket. And therefore, a woman was involved in this crime. And we can sort of logically deduce that the most likely candidate is her roommate. Like that is, for him, totally logical. And then when I point out to him that that's not a fact, like, it's not a fact that only a woman would cover another woman's body
Correct.
with a blanket.
Yes.
Like that's not a fact. That's an idea. That's an opinion. It's not a fact. And like for some people, it's really difficult to distinguish between a fact and an opinion. Like because it feels, opinions feel real. They feel like facts to us. And so I can, like, if I am able to sort of take a step back, I can appreciate his logic and his rational reasoning and his feelings about the entire thing. And I can hold that and at the same time hold all of my hurt and my pain and this never should have happened. All of that can coexist, even though it feels like it's in tension. And what I've discovered, to answer your question about forgiveness, is that the more curious I am about a person, the more I want to understand them, the more I naturally feel compassion arising in me for that person. I don't know if that's true of everyone, but to me, the more I understand another human being, the more I can, if not empathize with them, at least feel for them. Like I can totally understand his point of view and still totally disagree with it. And at the same time, recognize him and his human frailties. Like we all are imperfect. We all don't want to be judged by the worst thing that we've ever done. Like he's scared. Like my prosecutor, I discovered, was someone who's deeply afraid of what it would mean to be wrong. And he's afraid. And if anything, like being a mom has sort of helped me to like be able to hold him in his fear and in his like it's fear. He's afraid. And like I can have compassion for somebody who is afraid, even if it comes at a cost to me, just because like I can hold all of those things at once. And I think being a mother asks us to sort of hold a lot of things at like a lot of conflicting and things that are in tension. And I think that just made it didn't excuse any of his behavior. I didn't like excuse it. I never at any point said, well, it wasn't bad then what you did. Like it was still bad. But like I can appreciate him for who he is then and today. And so I think it looks like forgiveness from the outside because I'm not raging against this person. I'm not like hating this person. I don't hate him. I'm still angry over what happened, but I don't think inflicting pain on him is going to help me in any way. It doesn't help me. It just hurts me even more because that separation keeps happening.
Yeah.
I just want to feel understood. And so approaching him from a non-judgmental way also sort of opened the door for him to approach me in a non-judgmental way.
And you have,
so there's reciprocal.
You have so much grace, and very few people had that same grace towards you. And that is a testament to your character and the work you've done. And I hope you receive that, because you have a lot of grace for people who were very quick to not have that sense of grace towards you. And with that, you know, the true crime community and industry need to change. They exploit the media. Like, what do you think needs to, because right now we're living in the era of true crime. People just want to consume it all the time. I mean, it's leading the charts everywhere. What do you think, as someone who's been involved in it, and it's gone, I've seen every version of every different type of true crime media about your story I mean, I can't imagine how many are out there right now. But what needs to change?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that is really important that people should really consider more than they do is first of all, just what's at stake for the people who are actually at the center of these stories. I think there is a kind of flippancy that creators feel towards the subjects at the center of these stories, like this sense of entitlement to portray them and the worst experiences of their lives just for the heck of it, because it's interesting to people. Like, it's in the public interest, in the sense that they say, well, people are interested in it, so therefore, why not? And it's like, well, the telling of the story itself becomes part of that person's journey to that becomes a part of that person's life too. Like, I've interviewed people who talked about how, like, they were victims of crime, who then went on to tell their story with a media outlet and felt like the media's treatment of them was more traumatizing than the crime itself.
Oh my gosh, that's heavy.
Which, like, I cannot emphasize this enough, that people do not understand the deep wounds that can result from having your identity and your story stolen from you. Like, it's one thing to have your body, like, taken advantage of, like, to be a victim of a sexual assault. Like, the woman I'm referring to was a repeated, like, she was sex trafficked, and then when she told her story, they turned her into some, like, dumb bimbo, and sort of like, wink wink, it's kind of her fault because she's a dumb bimbo, like, victim blaming her for what happened to her when she was brainwashed and sex trafficked. Like, so, and to this day, like, she's repeatedly raped in her life, and says that the way that the media treated her made her hate herself more than the actual crime that was committed against her. And I think that content creators should really keep that in mind, that, like, the idea, there's this term that is out there in the world of psychology, which is narrative foreclosure. That feeling that you are not the protagonist of your own story, that you don't get to have a say about who you are or what your character is, that has been stripped of you, and you are just a villain or a victim in somebody else's narrative, and you don't have a say. Like, people who have had so much taken from them want to have a say in how people understand them and what it is that we learn from these real life things that happen, these real life tragedies that happen. We want to have a say in what that means for the rest of us. But, like, the way that Hollywood and all content creation around true crime has been, that you have to be an outsider looking in order to have any kind of valuable thing to say about the story. And that's absolute bullshit. Like, you can be someone who is at the center of a story and have a very important and valuable perspective about what it means for the rest of us and why it should or should not be in the public interest, right? Like, looking back on my own story, I'm just appalled that so much time was spent scrutinizing my sex life, which was utterly irrelevant to the story at hand, like, to what happened to my roommate. My sex life had nothing to do with my roommate's rape and murder. Like, it just absolutely did not. I had no relationship with the murderer. And so, period, done. And it did not matter that I had casually hooked up with somebody a few weeks earlier. Like, that was irrelevant. And yet it was used as so much focus was on, oh, are you into kinky things? And it was merely because that was just, like, scandalous and interesting from a storytelling perspective.
Correct.
Like, oh, yeah, how can we, what would make this person interesting? Oh, well, it's a sex crime and she was a young woman having sex. Like, we can put those things together. No, like, it's, so to this day, it's just like, for me as somebody who does create content around true crime, I'm always trying to think about who has the most at stake
Mm.
and what does it mean for this story to be told, which is why, like, when I was doing the Hulu show, for example, it was really important to me to portray my prosecutor, for example, in his full complexity. Like, he has a history, he has a world around him that is informing his perspective. It's not
Correct.
just like he appeared out of nothing and started making horrible decisions. Like, he has, like, he's influenced by a lot of factors. And I wanted people to be able to watch the show and think, oh my God, I completely am horrified by what is happening here, but I also understand where he's coming from. Like, that's what I was hoping people would take away, is they would be able to say, oh, well, clearly somebody who had this kind of upbringing and had all of these voices whispering in his ear would be informed by that and would be making decisions based upon that. And so that, like, it's not just pigeonholing people into black and white
Exactly.
narratives. Yeah.
It's so true. And you said this, maybe a few minutes ago. You were like, I just wanted to be understood. And that's like so beautiful about your podcast, Hard Knocks, is like you're giving people space and it's coming from a real life perspective. It's not a hypothetical. It's like, I can't put myself in your shoes. But you can put yourself in these people's shoes that you're interviewing, and you bring a sense of safety and understanding and common ground that I imagine makes it easier for them to feel connected. And I think this is an important question to ask. And I love that you said this. What do you think, after all the things you've done? You've been so vulnerable. You've given so much grace to a lot of fucking people who don't deserve it, in my opinion. What are people still getting wrong to this day? What do you feel, even though you've given everyone all of these corners and avenues to understand the story, to understand your perspective, what are people still getting wrong?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's still a lot of, just on a personal note, a lot of people still speculate about my character and whether or not I'm just a master, criminal psychopath who's been putting on a pretend show for 18 years now, and I'm just pretending to be a normal, compassionate, articulate person when I'm really just a cunning psychopath. I think there's that ongoing idea. I think there's people, I mean, even just recently, there was this new documentary came out, which my husband directed, called Mouth of the Wolf. And it was him. He took all these videos of me going back to Italy. So it's a lot of that, like, just real footage from our lives of me making that decision and going and sort of explaining and all of my, like, turmoil around that. And one of the responses that I read was, again, somebody who believes that I'm guilty, so they're going to have their sort of biased opinion. But they were like, well, Amanda appears to be this, like, really great person now, but she was, a psychopath back then. And it's just like, I feel I think a lot of people look at me and see me as somebody who has been super successful in changing the narrative around me. But, I didn't do that for there are people who are deeply invested in the idea of me being a psychopath who I cannot reach. And that is something that I've had to accept, that there are just some people who are going to see reality in a certain way, and they are deeply invested in doing so. So, like, they're not going to, their ability to interpret reality is through a filter that is the assumption of my guilt, and then they see everything through the assumption of my guilt. And I think that is something that I learned from this experience, is that, and it's something that's really troubling when it comes to just how we relate to each other in the world, is we all have whether we know it or not, these filters through which we see reality.
Correct.
And one person is going to see one thing a certain way, and another person is going to see the exact same thing and view it in a completely different way. And that's why we have so much conflict in society, is because we can't agree on what facts are because we are interpreting facts to mean different things. So again, that difference between what is a fact and what is an opinion is really difficult to untangle, because that filter is the thing, that filter of interpretation is how we even receive the information, the fact in the first place. And so, like, as I think about what my work is in this world and what it means, a lot of it is spent trying to unpack how those filters have sort of predetermined our interpretation of reality, and start trying to sort of like pull those curtains aside so we can just see things for as they really are, and only then interpret what we want to from them. So that sounds very abstract, but I think the ultimate thing that I suppose I'm trying to say is that I haven't got everything figured out. I haven't changed everyone's mind. And I'm still, to this day, figuring out what happened to me. Yeah. I'm not over it. And nor should I be, nor should anyone, because I feel like just because something happened in the past doesn't mean that it doesn't have resonance in the future. And I'm especially interested in, one, trying not to repeat the same mistakes that people did towards me, but two, trying to help take what wisdom I can from my story and helping elevate other people's stories through that wiser perspective.
Yeah. Wow. You hold a lot of power in that. It's incredible to hear you speak, because most people can't even comprehend or imagine what you've gone through and what you've had to carry. And yet here you are, serving other people, building a life, building a family, building this voice, all of these projects. It's just an incredible amount of strength. And it's good to see you on this side. Like I'm very grateful that you trusted me to speak to me about it today. But what I love is the vision and how you see the world now. You're not playing this victim card. You're making, the power is in the way you're showing up. And I want you to know that it's really incredible to see, to be in the same room as you, to have conversations with you, because not many people can be on the other side. Not many people get to the other side of this. And I think that's why your podcast is so important too.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I would love for you to share with everyone, where to find your podcast, Hard Knocks. Talk about the release this January of Mouth of the Wolf. Where can everyone see these projects? Because they're really important, and I want people to check it out.
Yeah. So anyone can find out what I'm working on at amandaknox.com. That's kind of like baseline. But yes, I have a podcast called Hard Knocks, which is available wherever you can get your podcasts. And in it, I have conversations with people about really difficult times in their lives, or I also do, audio essays where I dissect like a complex idea. So that's Hard Knocks. I also have a podcast series out through iHeart Media, which is called Doubt: The Case of Lucy Letby, another case of a very emotionally charged, controversial narrative around a woman accused of heinous crimes that took place in the UK very recently. So if anyone's interested in hearing how I'm applying my perspective to other people's cases, that's a very good example. So Doubt: The Case of Lucy Letby. And beyond that, the most recent documentary about my experience is called Mouth of the Wolf. It's available on Hulu and Disney Plus, and it's a very, very personal, intimate portrait of me in the aftermath of all of this crazy story, and taking it upon myself to go back to Italy to confront what happened. So you can see that. And then, of course, if you want to learn more about the case, the twisted tale of Amanda Knox is on Hulu and Disney Plus as well. And that's the scripted version of everything that happened to me in Italy.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and showing up and being wide open. And this is a special episode, and I appreciate the way you show up over and over and over again. So thank you, Amanda.
Well, thank you, Ashlyn. No, I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, everyone. We will see you next week on another episode of Wide Open. What an incredible conversation. Amanda's sense of strength really comes through in this conversation. I think what stayed with me so much is the strength it takes to keep choosing a life that's yours, especially when so much of it was once taken from you. Amanda's honesty, her willingness to sit in the uncomfortable but still move forward, it's powerful. And I don't take that lightly, because trust is such a big thing in her world. And for her to share and be so open really is magical. And she has such a lightness and airiness about her, and giving so much grace when so little was given to her during this time. I imagine so much was taken. This conversation wasn't about headlines. It was about humanity. It was about identity. It's about what it takes and what it really means to heal and keep moving forward. So thank you for being here, Amanda. Thank you for sharing all the wisdom and what you've had to walk through to get on this other side, and what a light she is. This is Wide Open, and we'll see you next time.